Welcome back to another part of this F1 25 My Team Career Mode. This is part number 21 today for the Canadian Grand Prix in Season 2. Last time out at Imola, it was a less than ideal race, let's say. A bit of a messy one from the get-go on lap 1, having to take an excursion and then pretty much getting bullied around by the AI after having 2 podiums in a row. We were off the podium, we were off points for the first time this season as a team, as neither myself driving as Tim Tramnitz or Jenson Button's AI scored points that race. So it was a bit of maybe a crash to reality, a blip, I'm hoping, in the season. Maybe we can hopefully return to double points in this episode and return to a bit more form. But definitely a race where maybe, you feel like you're going to have one of those, at least once in a season where it's a bit rough around the edges. We lost a bit of ground to Williams in the Constructors' Championship, but we're still pretty close to them considering how much better they've looked this season. They haven't fully made the most of their car, and now you're in a situation where Mercedes and Red Bull have very much pulled away as the top 2 teams, and Williams maybe can't now go for a podium as they were at the start of the season. They're in tandem though with Aston Martin, along with a lot of us making upgrades. So that last episode, it may have not felt great, but technically I think it looks like we're the closest we ever have been to the top of the chart. Like the top team, I think that gap is as small as it's ever been in the series so far. So maybe without the mess we had in Imola, it probably would have been a better Grand Prix for us. But also Imola is just notoriously difficult versus the AI. At least it feels like on this game, with maybe a little bit of the kind of, Miami sort of performance levels coming in around that circuit where they're just so good out the corners and on the straight. We continue to try and bring upgrades to this car. We've got a decent amount of time from Imola to Canada in-game to bring upgrades, but we're kind of actually lacking R&D. For once, I'm actually wishing we had more R&D this entire game so far. I've had too much R&D to spend, and we've not had enough upgrades unlocked, whereas now we've got plenty to still do, but they're quite expensive now, because we're getting to major upgrades, which are huge, but obviously cost a lot more. Take some time to come in. Saying that though, don't get me wrong, we also do need to try and unlock more upgrades, but I've realized there's no more breakthrough upgrades to make in phase 2 engineering. We need phase 3. Apart from durability, there's nothing there. We can't unlock the next tier of upgrades until phase 3. We're not too far away, but it's still going to take, I'm going to guess, 2-3 episodes to get to phase 3. We need phase 3. Because then once we get phase 3, we can get the next set of breakthrough facility upgrades. For now, we're going to go with advanced tooling, 3 out of 3, actually, maxing that out. Just trying to make the engineering department as efficient as possible. And then for the very first time, because we got phase 2 now on personnel, we can now do some driver evolution upgrades on the facility. So far, I don't think we've really seen Tramnitz or Button really change stats in our team. We've seen other drivers in other AI teams. They've grown as drivers and grown stats. I think we saw, was it Sainz went from 90 to 92 rated he is at the moment in the game in Season 2. But Tramnitz did not grow, or hardly, I don't think. And that's because growth in your team is seemingly not unlocked until phase 2. I kind of don't agree with that. I feel like it should be there in the base Season 1 anyway, just like a little bit. But now we can start applying those upgrades or buying them and waiting for them to come in. And hopefully now, future drivers that we have will actually grow in stats. And so we can, we're looking at maybe Antonelli or Behrman. We can actually grow them into the next hot ticket pairing in Formula 1. I say pairing if we get both of them, of course. So going through the activity timeline then, a lot of activities we put in. For the first time, I actually did one of those engineering activities to rush through one of the upgrades we've got through, because I really want it for Canada. And as we advance through the timeline, a personnel facility department event comes up, and music to my ears, actually, a 5% rate increase of workforce hire, because this entire time, we've not been able to max out the workforce on the engineering side. Let me know in the comments below, guys, if any of you are playing this far into my team. Have you been able to ever maximize your workforce, because I'm finding it quite difficult. I keep putting the higher rating higher on the activities every time. Even if you don't see it, I'm doing it, and it still seems very difficult to max out the workforce, which is important, because if you max it out, your department's more efficient. Like, upgrades take less the more workforce you've got. You also have to pay them more, of course, but that's, kind of part and parcel of the management part of my team. As we continue to develop parts, we've got a brand new engine power upgrade. We're going to kind of do both of them at the same time as we try and make sure that one gets done, because the worry is if you do dual development, if it fails, one, it takes longer to do dual development. Then if it fails, you're then having to do both of them again at the same time, basically. So there are some instances where you might not want to dual develop, as we again purchase more on the engineering side, just trying to bump up that phase as much as we can. Like, if we can get phase 3 within like the next episode or 2, that would be really ideal, because I feel like that would give us the momentum to really bridge the gap to where Williams and Aston are right now on the R&D chart. And I think for us, because we're maximizing everything we can all the time, that would really put us in a very competitive place, for consistent, I'm talking like top 5, basically. I know we just came off 2 podiums and then the Imola race, but those podiums, if you watch those episodes, you'll recall, very, very lucky. We got very, very lucky with multiple red flags, multiple safety cars, and then a race where we got 1 safety car, but it wasn't really useful. Imola, we're out the points. So it kind of shows we have been living on lucky races so far this season. It feels like we are going to unlock 1 training perk for the owner side of things. It's a restructure to the entire team, so I don't know how much benefit that's going to be. I'm hoping that is a decent chunk of benefit, because it's one of the last perks on that tree of the owner training. And then we have a fan giveaway, going to go for the large investment just to try and boost the fan rating as much as we can, because higher fan rating also comes with more money, and then that will help us upgrade the facilities, and that will help us upgrade the car. So it all really feeds in together. But we've got interesting developments from the personnel side of things. Driver talks continuing with Kimi Antonelli. So we've been here before with Andrea Kimi. We've had all 3 talks with him last season. Didn't happen. Maybe from his side, it feels like this is the team that got away, because he signed with Haas ultimately, because we didn't go for him, because we were quite fixated on keeping our lineup, unfinished business with Tramnitz being, you're one of your guys' favorites in terms of, growing to him. And then obviously I have unfinished business with wanting Button in this team still. But Kimi was a real big contender, and he's not really enjoying life at Haas that much. He's had 1 or 2 really standout races, and to be fair, as of late, he's been performing very well in that Haas. But overall, the Haas probably isn't in a place where he wanted, but he had no choice. He got kicked out by Mercedes in favor of Carlos Sainz, but maybe there is something there for him next season with us. But now our heads go towards the Canadian Grand Prix. And the last 2 episodes, we've driven as Tim Tramnitz. So here today for the Canadian Grand Prix, it is very fitting that we're going to swap over to Jenson Button. Let's get into qualifying.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here in Canada at the wonderful Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Who's going to come out fastest of all in the next hour? Yes, it's time for qualifying.
Looking forward to this one, seeing what we can do. Last season we came here, it was so qualifying, and then the race was very difficult because we had a mostly wet race, I think it was, wasn't it? And or entirely wet, and that was our first inkling of how overpowered the AI are in wet conditions. The forecast here is mostly dry. There is once again some rain, flirting around this race weekend, but not for every single session and not the whole race like it was last season. There is some rain maybe for the end of this qualifying day and then at the end of the race, at least according to the forecast in the messages screen before you load in to the race weekend. But the pace off the bat in Q1 was very, very strong, I must say. Hardly anything between myself and Max Verstappen. Tramnitz, unfortunately, does not make it in. He was quite close, though. Only 1/10 would have got him through into Q2. He's on the back foot, but, I didn't really expect him to do unbelievable stuff there. But also, maybe was hoping he could just get into the second part of qualifying, because the car is feeling great. I think the car has good pace around here. I have good pace around here, and more so than season 1, I think this car now is at a stage where I'm able to show a bit more of that pace. It's got enough downforce. It's a little bit lighter, of course. It's got more engine power, and we're able just to dance this car around, find some time around there, and still pop it up in P1 for Q2. This pace is genuine. This is genuine, and as I said at the start of the episode with the R&D chart, we're technically actually as close as we ever have been to the top team on the R&D chart. Yeah, it's either Mercedes or Red Bull. I think they've both kind of come very close together into this episode from Imola, where Mercedes had the advantage clearly. And you're seeing there, we're close enough now in terms of car performance where I can then make up the difference. As those of you who've been watching me for a while well know, I just have that extra little bit of pace around Montreal. It's always been one of my favorite circuits. We're driving as Button. It's meant to be. And the rain is falling now. It is changeable conditions. And we're going to try and channel our inner Jenson Button, who was always one of the best in these changeable conditions, as it's a difficult qualifying lap. The track is feeling damp. It's a lot darker, which is actually making a bit of an aid to spotting the brake points, but a little bit of, oversteer here and there. The car not fully stable, and a little bit of a blockade from Lewis Hamilton, one of Button's former teammates, as I don't know where Lewis was trying to go, left or right on the exit. In the end, it won't matter too much because we still speed through to the line to cross it in P1, and at the moment, that is provisional pole position. And as the rain continues to fall, that may be it, because surely anyone behind me can't go quicker. It's a much damper track than it was when I set that lap, and so as we park it up into the garage, knowing that hopefully not many people will be improving, we can still see we're P1 on the dash and we are P1 on the standings at the screen. As we fast forward through, no one's on track. There we have it. There we have it. It is our first pole position for Aarava Archer Racing, and it goes to Jenson Button. How fitting at the Canadian GP. What a quali that has been. But look how close it was to Max Verstappen. I think tomorrow's race will be all about us versus Verstappen, and that is going to be a real tall order, but one I'm game for, because with the rain maybe just coming right at the end of the race, it gives us the biggest opportunity to do some good work in the dry. But then I am worried. Let's see how that end goes. Let's go to the grid.
We're back once again beside the St. Lawrence River here in Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix. The event first moved to the variant of this track back in 1978, and it was won by none other than Gilles Villeneuve, the first Canadian to ever win his home race, and in whose honour the circuit would be renamed. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. An immense lap from Jenson Button yesterday puts him on pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Piastri, Sainz, Charles Leclerc and Ocon, Lawson, Norris, Hamilton and Andrea Kimi Antonelli, Colapinto, Russell, Yuki Tsunoda and Albon, Stroll, Tremnitz, Pierre Gasly and Jack Doohan, Bortoletto, Aaron, Hulkenberg and Isaac Hadjar rounds off the grid. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. And joining me in the commentary box today with the best view on what is about to unfold and some strong views on the action we're about to see, Naomi Schiff. Oh, Canada. Oh, Canada. What a track this is, and what a challenge for the drivers this weekend. Long straights, heavy braking zones, and a very green surface to start with.
This happens to be one of the drivers' favourites. It is a low downforce circuit that is fast and flowing, but it is also demanding on the brakes. And be careful, because let's not forget the wall of champions that catches out so many.
So for the first time on F1 25, we line up to start the formation lap, and there is no car ahead of us. We are the one leading the formation lap. We've got a very different strategy for the start of this race compared to, Verstappen and Piastri right behind us, both Red Bulls on the hard compound. Leclerc as well, Sainz on mediums. I even know that there's Russell, the other Mercedes, who qualified a little bit lower than he wanted to. He's on softs, so we've got a very mixed up strategy. Hello, excuse me, Piastri. Very, very keen to get to the grid then, overtaking the pole sitter as we have to overtake him, squeezing through on the left. We slot in nonetheless on our pole position, facing towards the right to try and block off Verstappen off lights out as we rev up to what feels like could be a very special Canadian Grand Prix. From pole position, lights out, and we are underway. It's a good getaway for us. Battery use and all the way to the right, and it's an easy turn one, and instead Verstappen is met fighting his teammate. That is the most ideal turn one for this race ever from pole position. I was preparing myself for a difficult fight there because this has been recorded after one of the first patches on F1 25 where the AI starts have been improved. So, and actually, if you look back at the replay cameras, Verstappen actually did react to me a lot quicker off the line, but we just had a really good getaway, one that we haven't had for a while. We've had a few dodgy starts in the last few episodes, so that was a big deal for me to get that sorted, basically, and not fluff it off the line, not get too much wheel spin, as Piastri now, having attacked Verstappen for second, is instead down one position versus Sainz. Crucially, Sainz on the medium tyre, the Red Bulls on hards, remember, so maybe Sainz early doors, or it could just be Piastri being a little bit slow for some reason now. Has he picked up a little bit of damage, I wonder, versus his teammate as Leclerc makes quick work of him. So all of a sudden, Piastri's gone from fighting for second down to P5 now, as we nearly have a 2-second gap to Verstappen. This is the most ideal start for us because the game plan, medium to Verstappen's hards, has to be making the use of the mediums and getting as big of a gap as possible to control, to allow us to breathe a little bit, because eventually our mediums will start to wear out. But for now, the advantage is us. The advantage should be to Sainz in third on his mediums, and it certainly is for Russell, who's now up to P9, recovering well on the soft compound tyre. Piastri is now hanging on to Leclerc, so maybe he's gotten used to the car in whatever state it's in now. I do feel like he's picked up maybe some damage or something just went wrong in the car momentarily as Russell continues to mow forwards, and it's Piastri versus Leclerc. Piastri looking for the repass, so maybe he has actually found some pace again. Maybe it was a temporary issue. The Ferrari not giving up though, having maybe a little half look, and Russell the same on Ocon as he can't quite make that pass on that second Haas, but he's definitely got to make the most of his tyres on the softs for now. Tramlit on the medium as well as me, so it looks like that was a whole team strategy then to go medium, as Russell now winces a little bit maybe in the cockpit as he faked a little bit, then finally got out underneath the rear wing of Ocon and goes right round the outside, and this might end up being a fantastic overtake from Russell. Good commitment, and he gets the job done. Right now, Russell in the most fighting mood of ever compared to everyone else, having won obviously the Imola GP, not the qualifying he would have wanted, and instead his teammates up in P3. But maybe this is karma, because Sainz was leading Imola, remember, and then he clearly had a big car issue because he went down like 3 positions in the span of a lap. So maybe this is you know, just a bit of a payback in terms of the F1 gods paying it forward for Carlos Sainz. Verstappen P2 still, the gap 1.9, so we're doing well. This is ideal, keeping Verstappen at arm's length, but I'm not taking too much out of the medium tyre. There's still a little bit I could be pushing more, just because I know if I go flat out, I'll wear them out even quicker, and then we're going to have problems with Verstappen coming back at us a bit too soon. I make no mistake, he will be coming at us, because now lap 8, he's 1.1. You know, Verstappen never attacking us in this first stint wasn't an option, because it's Verstappen. He's always going to come at us. You know, he's in a quicker car as well. No matter how much pace I've got around Montreal, he's in the quicker car, and now his tyres will be feeling better than mine, better than Sainz, but Sainz is hanging on to the Dutchman. But this is where we now have to try and soak up the pressure until that first pit stop onto our hard tyres, and then, like I said before in quali, apparently the forecast is for rain. There is rain coming at the end of this race. If it's accurate, it's coming. And so it might be a case of going from hards to intermediates, maybe. And for that, we need the biggest gap possible on that hard stint, because we know how quick the AI can be in those wet conditions. That's what I'm scared about. Right now, I really do feel good about maintaining first place here, but if the wet comes fully, we're in trouble, I fear. But we'll just take it stint by stint. So this first stint is all about now trying to keep Verstappen at bay, maybe backing him into Sainz a little bit as we go defensive. We've outbroken ourselves there. Verstappen has seized the opportunity to try and go around the outside. It's almost like he planned to put me into the inside line to tighten up my run as Oscar Piastri, the championship leader, spun it here in Montreal. He was already having car issues, and clearly it's overflowed as he's got it all crossed up in the cockpit. He continues on, but he's now down to P10. The Red Bull is backwards after turn 1. Where have we seen that before in a Canadian Grand Prix? That is unbelievable. Verstappen having a go, and we defend again, but now we are fully defending two different cars. Red Bull, Mercedes, and Max just completely did us there on the outside. Couldn't even defend that. I thought I slammed the door shut on him, but surprisingly, and very promising to see again from the F125 AI, he just squeezed through. I'm pretty sure he must have dipped a tyre into the grass, for goodness sake, to get through on the left-hand side. But look at Sainz in the background. He's sniffing around as we go defensive again into the final chicane. Verstappen not fully alongside us, though, so it's all calm, but we've tightened up the line now. So Verstappen now has better momentum, and he's now going through. He was momentarily ahead. Again, we outbrake ourselves slightly. This time he learned, though, from the previous lap and take Verstappen wider, and Sainz now is in to second place. There is it. They're still side by side behind us. I didn't look behind. I just want to focus on our couple of corners ahead to make sure we've got our head in the game, as Sainz is into second place, but that's not our problems over, because the Mercedes is also equally quick. He's also on the medium, so Sainz will be desperate to make an impact, and he is going to try to. He was ahead of us momentarily. We've broken him into the right-hander, but now he's actually got more of an advantage because he now sails through on the left. Verstappen might try it as well into the hairpin. We have to dive bomb Sainz in order to repass Verstappen. It's 3 wide coming out the exit. There's a warning for a collision with Sainz. I don't know where that came from. I thought we gave him enough racing room, but clearly things are getting a little bit close for comfort as Sainz gets into the lead. For the first time, we have fully lost the lead of this race. It's important right now onto lap 11 that we don't panic. We've lost the lead, yes, but we can stick with Sainz. He's on the medium, the same tyre as us. He'll be feeling the tyre wear. Verstappen is the one I'm worried about if he ever gets into first place. He might just walk away with this, with Piastri being out the picture, to not kind of, ruffle the feathers a little bit. But Sainz, we should be able to close back up. I say that. That didn't look too promising on that main straight. We have to really go late on the brakes to lunge it into the wall of champions. Sliding through, closing. Do we dare go for it? We are. We stick the nose in. Sainz gives us the room. We tried to go the long way round, but we're met with the same misery as Verstappen did 2 times trying to make that same move on me. It's difficult. On F125, I feel as well, and even the last couple of F1 games, that move on the outside of turn 2 at Montreal seems harder to get the nose turned round in these kind of new era ground effect cars. But lap 12, Sainz now feeling defensive, and to my surprise, it kind of felt like Sainz didn't put up much of a fight there into the brake zone. It's almost like he kind of conceded he was going to get past, and maybe he thinks he can go for the repass behind us with DRS. So maybe Sainz himself playing a bit of a tactical game, knowing his tyres are wearing out, as it's Leclerc and P4 in no man's land with Piastri spinning. Lawson, by the way, quietly having an amazing race for Aston Martin Honda. Colapinto, P8, so it's another double Aston Martin points maybe, as Sonoda and Ocon fight for the last points-paying position in this race. Unfortunately, Tramnitz nowhere near points in P19, maybe just showing the gulf of performance from a lower than 70 rated F3 driver to yours truly, driving as Jenson Button. Sainz having a good little nip on the right-hand side, but we shut the door, and instead now riding on board with Max Verstappen. He's going to go for the dive. This is excellent to watch. Two AI cars having a battle into the hairpin, and that was Verstappen on the outside. That is a very unorthodox way to make an overtake at the hairpin for any player, let alone an AI on another AI car, as these two are now squabbling. They're both wobbling around, trying to maybe spook each other into the brake zone, and that has given us an amazing amount of room to breathe. 1.5 the gap is, thanks to Verstappen's dive bomb, basically the hairpin, and then the continuous fighting. We've now broken DRS again, so we've been given a second chance just to breathe a little, alleviate that pressure, and decide when we want to come in, which is lap 15, one lap earlier than was scheduled. But I want to try and get an undercut going. I think this is the race again to try the undercut, because we've also got that gap of 2 seconds. So that 2-second gap to Sainz before we came in, that might be crucial in terms of where we come out. That might be the difference of clean air versus traffic. Who knows? Let's see. Let's pray that we've timed this right, as for once, at the right time, it is a great pit stop. Brilliant work, team. 2.4. We're going to use battery on the exit to make sure we stay ahead of Tsunoda. We slot into a very wayward Franco Colapinto, losing the back end in turn 2, as continuously being reminded of how much more realistic these AI are with making little mistakes here and there, as we completely do Colapinto at the hairpin, and then go on to lap 17, where Sainz has made his pit stop, and he is coming out, I think, in traffic. So this was the right call for us. The undercut has worked. We're still ahead of Sainz, and now we've grown the gap, and it will grow further, because Sainz, so annoyingly for him, he comes out side by side with his own teammate, who's on mediums, who's clearly on like a 2-stop, a very aggressive 2-stop. Very, very odd decision from Mercedes and Russell, to be honest, knowing that there's some rain on the way. I mean, it's already looking a bit darker, I think you'll agree. So the rain definitely is somewhere around Montreal, maybe making its way towards this circuit as we close up to Oscar Piastri, the championship leader. But today, it's not been his day. It has not been Piastri's day. He's just not gelled with this car on this circuit. Maybe the car's had an issue from the get-go, it looked like it, but then maybe just driver error into that turn 1 spin. And either way, for once, we have some amazing pace in the straight line to easily overtake Piastri on the inside, and we get up into P5 on the road. Next up is the Ferrari of Lewis Hamilton. So right now, we're picking apart these guys. There's not too much slow traffic, so this is fine. We're in a much better position than Sainz. The question mark is, where does Verstappen come out? What sort of pace does he have then? Because remember, all of these guys who started on hards, they'll now go to mediums. And you saw how much quicker mediums were at the start of the race on heavier fuel. It's going to be even more as we now close to Lewis Hamilton, and we're going to set up an absolutely sublime overtake. We go deep, we cut in really tight, and we absolutely mince him on throttle. Oh, that was beautiful. That was like a beautifully choreographed little execution there, up into P4 on the road, and now maybe more pace and more overtakes to come versus Lawson. Some clean air though before we get to him, and at the moment everyone continues on. But yeah, as I was saying, the question mark is, how quick is Verstappen going to be on mediums? I fear he might be rapid, and in a weird way, we might be hoping the rain comes earlier, but then I'll be hating that, because then obviously the AI will be so good versus myself. But those are question marks for later in this race. Right now, I've just got one thing on my mind, is getting past Lawson, who is very slow, and that could have been disaster. I don't think you realise how close we were to just being squeezed into the wall there. I really felt like I needed to get past Lawson there, because I just needed DRS in clean air here to then get on our way, because we're concerned about where this guy's going to come out once he makes his pit stop, maybe coming very, very soon. Is is he going slow? Verstappen slow! Is Verstappen out? He is! Max Verstappen is out of the Canadian Grand Prix, and all of a sudden, I think things are looking absolutely amazing. Sometimes in Formula One, you just need the rub of the green, for things to go your way, for things just to fall in the right place. And now, all of a sudden, everything is falling into place at this Canadian Grand Prix in 2026 for us and Jenson Button. Because look at where Sainz is. He's behind Russell, who has to pit. Hamilton has to pit. And there he is now coming in. So it's now 2-3 Mercedes on lap 21. But Russell will come in off the mediums. So Sainz will be the nearest car to us once people have made their actual pit stops. And he will be nearly 9 seconds behind us. That is how much time we have gained with the undercut, with him being in traffic. And now there's no Verstappen to worry about. We were worried about Verstappen, and then second would be Sainz. Now, Verstappen's out, and our worry about Sainz, well, surely can't be that much of a worry. If we can't control a 9-second gap, if we throw away a 9-second gap, even if the rain comes and we throw that away, I will be so upset. But we've still got so long to go in this race, and we do indeed maybe have a wet period to come, and you just never know. If you remember from last season, you just remember how quick the AI were around here on intermediates. So it's not over yet. It is not over yet. Lap 27 this is. The gap is down to 5.6. So in clean air, Sainz is finding some more time. He's coming back towards us, but it's not at a rate that's alarming at the moment. But the rain is due. I've been hearing radio calls. It's on the way. It was 15 minutes. Now it's 10 minutes. Now it's imminent. Leclerc and Hamilton, P3 and 4. It's been a brilliant recovery for Ferrari. Out of nowhere, Hamilton's come up into a top 4 position. And Piastri is recovering from that spin in the first stint as he goes for the pass on the outside. He's the only Red Bull left in the race, of course, remember. It's gone from Verstappen maybe getting one over his new teammate who's leading the championship. And now Piastri's laughing. He'll be again gaining points on his teammate and gaining points on his nearest rivals, because Russell was the man nearest to him after the win in Imola in the standings, and he's behind him in P7. Very out of sync of this race is lap 29 though. You can see on the halo especially, the rain is starting to fall.
Be careful on those slicks. These conditions are making the line a bit greasy, but we're still nowhere near the changeover.
And you know it's a concern when Mark, the in-game engineer, is also letting us know about that, but he's saying it's not time for the crossover. It doesn't look like it either, to be honest. I'm agreeing with him, but it gets very dark then 3 laps later. Lap 32, the rain droplets settling on the T camera a lot more now. But at this stage, I'm still thinking we go to the end on dries. It is not raining as much as I thought it would, which is music to my ears, because look at the top left. The gap has grown to 6.7. Even though I'm struggling, we're having to seesaw at the steering wheel. For once, I'm actually looking pretty decent in these changeable conditions. I don't know if this is to do with anything with the AI patch. The starts for the AI were meant to be changed, but I don't know if the wet weather pace changed at all in the patch. But I'm actually legitimately quicker than Sainz as it gets wetter and we're having to struggle on the dries on the wet circuit. Maybe it really is just me channeling my inner Jenson Button today as Tim Tramnitz is coming in for Inters with, well, he's got 3 laps to go because he's a lap down basically, but we've only got 2 laps, so I still don't think it's time for Inters. We just need to get to the end now, but it is technically intermediates, but it's so now late in the day, there's no point pitting. The top 10, we all may as well just be limping around these last 2 laps to the end, but it is time for the green wall tyres because you're about to see Tramnitz, my own teammate. He's been nowhere in this race. He's going to pressurize this, and for now we'll stay ahead, but then through this next right and left-hander, it's pretty much going to be a given that he is going to do us just on traction alone, and there's no point fighting it because we're fighting our own car basically. But yeah, the confirmation, the same machinery, and the F3 driver's quicker than me. So it is officially now survival mode time for all of us on the dry tyres still, with just 1 lap to go now.
Okay, you've just started the final lap of the race. Final lap.
We can win this race, Jenson.
I'm not gonna lie, hearing that, the heart beats a little bit faster because we are so close to doing this. We are so close to getting aarava Archer Racing's first ever win in Formula 1 in this F1 25 My Team series, and we're so close to getting a historic another win for Jenson Button, and of all places to do it in a damp, changeable conditions Canadian Grand Prix race. It's like it's written in the stars as people are coming in on the last lap for pit stops. That's how dire the situation is. That's how quickly things could go wrong as there's a fight between Lando Norris and Gasly. Lando nearly does what he does in real life, and he nearly shunted it on the left-hand side. We're nearly half spinning the car. It is honestly so slippery out there. We have got one sector to go. Jenson Button, 15 wins in Formula 1. We've got number 15 on the car as him in this game, but we're going to come through the final corners. It's going to be win number 16 running to the line.
Into the pit straight. He wins a brilliant race. What a victory.
Brilliant, Jenson. Absolutely brilliant.
Guys, that was a hell of a race. A hell of a race. Thank you guys so much. Oh, it's been a long time coming.
Like I said earlier, written in the stars. Number 15 on this car that Button is driving, and it's been 15 years since that 2011 win, and it's win 15 to 16.
The checkered flag is out, and it waves for your winner today, Jenson Button.
And they led every single lap of the race. It was a light to flag victory, and that is total dominance.
Just looking at the race results, Sainz officially 1.2 seconds behind us in second, just showing how precarious that last lap was, and we quite literally just got it over the line.
A show-stopping performance from the three drivers approaching the podium right now. It's been an interesting Grand Prix, that's for sure.
It's a big day for us. It's a big day for Jenson Button in this series. It feels like that unfinished business has been completed. It's a weight off my shoulders. We can just go out there and try and enjoy as much as we can our time with JB as an icon driver before maybe moving on to more of the actual long-term future of this team, and maybe Button can move into a consulting role. But P4 in the Constructors' Championship, retaken from Williams. Big points there. After a very difficult Imola race. What an unbelievable Canadian Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri shows his grit and determination, though, I must say, to still gain points on rivals. But it's getting closer with Leclerc also there now. Russell and, Mercedes lead the way ahead of Red Bull. So it is game on in both championships. We're not in either of those fights, but we're certainly having our own amazing little battle with Williams and just ourselves, really, to improve the team and get the team set up for future success, you feel, in Season 3 is the hope, really, as we're nearing now fan rating number 5, which will be very good and very big, I think, maybe for the decal editor. Guys, though, if you have enjoyed this team's first win on this game, be sure to hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly full-on content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.